You know, the 70th anniversary of Disneyland was one crazy day and one crazy experience. And yet, after we uploaded our video of that day's experience, I somehow felt incomplete. I mean, so much had happened that day. The park was full of legendary Imagineers that we kept bumping into or going on rides with. In fact, we got invited up to a certain secret club where we were overhearing all these amazing conversations. Just so many things happened that day that, as is often the case in Randomland here, we could not show on camera. One of those days where you're just like, man, I wish people could have heard that. Well, today, at least part of that wish is coming true. Because although it did not fit into the main 70th anniversary day video that we uploaded, during the course of the day, after we left that secret club and headed over towards the Jungle Cruise to continue our adventure, we ran right back into some of the people we had just left, namely Tony Baxter, who was making his way towards Main Street to watch the new animatronic Walt Disney, and right behind him, Imagineers Eddie Sotto and Tom Morris, who saw me filming over here, stopped to say hello and point out a couple of secrets of the Jungle Cruise queue building over here, which Eddie had designed. And then as I'm standing there, started continuing their conversation about which Imagineers had designed what in Adventureland, what was still left, all this stuff. I'm standing there listening for a hot minute until it occurred to me, like, I've got the camera in my hand. And so what started as me just going to ask them to repeat a couple of the little Jungle Cruise facade secrets I had learned turned into 10 or 15 minutes of amazing conversation with two, in my opinion, legendary Imagineers, packing in like absolutely tons of information into a very short conversation, which again, like I said, did not fit into the main 70th anniversary video, and I had forgotten all about it until today. But before I show you the footage, I should explain, Tom Morris had an epic career at Imagineering, going all the way back to things like Journey into Imagination at Epcot, to Cars Land, to designing the castle for Disneyland Paris, my very favorite Disney castle. And Eddie Sotto over here did all kinds of amazing work on the Indiana Jones adventure here at Disneyland, and tons of the surrounding enhancement to Adventureland here. He worked on the Storybook Canal Boat, Space Mountain, and probably most impressively to me as a fan of Disneyland Paris, designed Main Street USA over there, and specifically those cool arcades on either side of Main Street, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, because they knew I was holding the camera and we'd been talking about things like the Dominguez Palm here, one of the oldest living things in Disneyland, something that actually predates the park. It was owned by the Dominguez family who lived here, one of my earliest Randomland videos. When it finally dawned on me to whip out the camera, they obliged me with the following. All right, it's right over here by the Jungle Cruise. Hey, I know that guy. Hey, and I know these guys too. That's what I'm talking about. These guys built all my favorite stuff. Hey! This place is lousy with Imagineers today.
That part of the building was designed by John Hinch from there on. But this part, from here on, was Harper Goff and a set designer from Warner Brothers.
You're working on a book, Tom Morris, legendary to me Imagineer, Eddie Sotto right here. You're working on a book about Imagineering at the very, very beginning.
Right.
So
in fact, the book is called In the Beginning.
That's what I was just going to ask. It has a title.
It's very biblical.
So when can we see this book?
Because all you've heard is history from the New Testament. And
right.
Now this is going to be.
We want to get the Old Testament. So when is it going to maybe ballpark? We're going to be looking for it.
End of the year or beginning of 26.
So keep an eye open. Tom Morris. In the Beginning, literally? That's literally the title?
Imagineering in the Beginning.
Oh, I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
And then I want that Eddie book. I need that book.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's do it.
There'll be another Tom Morris book. There might be 3 Tom Morris books.
I want to keep them coming. Just keep them coming. Yeah, okay, so we're going a slight down incline.
And this whole design telegraphs that the building is sinking and has been continually shored up because this balcony is no longer structural. This, by the way, used to
shored up by an old palm tree and everything.
This was a little place where they would repair the boats.
See this area underneath? It's very important.
Yeah.
If that area was not there of water, when the boats came in, there'd be a huge wake that would come over and wash across.
That's interesting.
And so this was engineered by a guy who just passed away at the age of 97 years old.
Wait a minute, I'm still alive.
He was a civil engineer, and he was kind of the second civil engineer in command, working for another.
Bye, everybody. Bye. What's the guy's name?
So his name was Al Dorman, And Al Dorman, who just passed away about a year and a half ago at the age of 97, was also the CEO
And he's passing away right now.
and founder of AECom, which is one of the largest companies in the world.
Jeez Louise, and he designed this dock?
He helped with the engineering of the, I can't remember, there's a term for when the water hit, it's like a wake.
Yeah.
But there's a term for the area that's needed underneath the dock.
Splashy.
The splash guard.
Splash area. Well, he also helped design the track system. His main thing was civil engineering. So he had to deal with the sandy soil of Anaheim. Anaheim was flooded in 1938. This site was flooded by a great storm.
Yeah.
And
From the Santa Ana River.
yeah, and it deposited about anywhere from 10 to 20 feet of sand. So sand is not the best.
Oh wow.
Especially when you've just learned
So that's why
about
Rivers of America just drained out when they
It
tried
never
to fill
did.
it.
No,
Is that actually a myth?
That's a myth.
Oh, we're
Yeah, that's
busting
a myth.
myths.
That's a myth.
Okay.
That never happened.
We're busting myths.
Yeah.
See,
it's
this
a
is
myth.
why we need the book.
This is why we need this. And
why
that
we
might
need
be
the
in the book. I can't remember. But Al Dorman is in my book, and so is Sam Hamill, and they were two of the smartest. They were
It was the smartest.
yeah, they were prodigies.
This is why I just need
They
you
were-
guys on a talk show
They
all
were
day.
they were prodigies who like graduated high school at the age of 16 or 17 and then got their degrees in civil engineering at the ages of 19.
And then built.
So one of them,
Freaking Disneyland.
the older of the two, Sam Hamill, was hired by Robert. He was hired by Robert Moses, the famous urban developer
Oh my gosh.
in New York. And so he helped develop, he helped engineer Jones Beach, which is this famous beach that I had never heard of before, but it's very famous, on the East Coast. And then Robert Moses was in charge of the 1939 lighting and effects for the 1934. Yeah, so Sam Hamill designed the fountain shows
my
and did a lot of the engineering for the 1939 World's Fair. And
Jeez
so,
Louise.
and then he was very involved, even though he was a civil engineer, he was really into fountains and lighting fountains. So he did fountains for the Hollywood Bowl and a lot of civil engineering fountains. There's a big fountain in downtown LA that I have never seen that he designed. And so anyway, he was recommended by General Electric to be the lighting and mechanical engineer for Disneyland, and that's a whole other story there. So he ended up being so important to the Disney company that the Disney company built an office building for him on Buena Vista Street, one block up from the studio, which is still there, now owned by the Disney Studios. And that was Sam Hamill, who has a window on Main Street.
I need all these
Jacob
stories.
Sam. And so he was the older of the two, and the younger was this guy named Al Dorman, who was also a civil engineer and also a prodigy. And Hamill hired him to do the real civil engineering because Hamill wanted to was more interested in the fountains and the lighting and everything. While Al Dorman had to figure out how the hell you build a park in sand.
Yeah.
15 feet
That's
of
what
sand.
I was thinking.
Yeah, and how do you build a berm? How do you berm sand? How do you put a train track on top of that? And one of the most challenging problems was the parking lot because no one had ever done an 80-acre at the time.
Huge tarmac parking lot.
Yeah, asphalt parking lot. How do you drain it if there's a big storm?
Oh, I never would even think of stuff
You
like
would never
this.
think of that, but there's a whole thing on how you have to do that.
Oh my God.
So-
These are the unsung heroes.
They are the unsung heroes. Well, so Sam Hamill is a little bit sung.
A little sung, yeah.
But Al Dorman's history with Disneyland's been largely
Well, it's
forgotten.
not as
But-
sexy as I designed.
No, but Al Dorman became one of the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world.
We're gonna
AECom.
remember Bob because he built the monorail or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't always know about the guy who figured out how to build this all on sand.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That's why I need this book.
Or whoever had a boat on a track.
And he never
Yeah.
got a dinner. He never got a dinner.
You guys
Well,
needed like a comedy duo.
He had a nice house. I went to interview Al Dorman.
What?
Before he passed away, me and Leslie Iwerks interviewed Al.
Oh my God.
And he had a very nice home in Pacific Palisades, which is still there.
Oh.
Still there.
There's good money in building things in sand.
Well, and I was very envious of his house because it was designed by an architect that I admire. named Al Cappy. And the Al Cappy house, where Al Cappy lived, was right next to Al Dorman's Al Cappy house. And next door to Al Dorman was Bradley Cooper.
Oh gosh.
Bradley Cooper. So he's neighbors with Bradley Cooper. But that's not why he's great. He's great because he was so super smart, and he has a university named after him in New Jersey, the Al Dorman School of Engineering at the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
You've been working on this book, and so now you've got all the links.
You know, and eventually,
It's like a giant spider web in his head of like all these names.
Which is all going to evaporate in like 3 or 4 years.
That's you're gonna write it all down. That's what happens to me. I do all this research, and then people ask me questions later. I'm like,
Yeah, I still have some of this in my, floating in my head.
Well, this is why every time I ask someone a question, they go, "Ask Tom. He's working on the book."
And most of these trees, are original from '55.
Just Bill Evans and what's the lady's name?
What's the lady's
Yeah,
name? Are you kidding?
I'm sorry.
Ruth Shellhorn.
There you go, Ruth Shellhorn.
So Ruth did not work on the jungle. It was like the one area
that was just Bill's.
No, but on June 20th or June 26th, as I transcribed her diary. So during this time period.
That's private.
Right where we are standing. Yes, right where we are standing. Sometime in June, she got called over here by Walt Disney and a couple other people, and Harper Goff was there, Dick Irvine was there, and Walt said, "I want to put an alligator pond right here, a little pond where we have little alligators."
Yeah.
And people can look at the alligators while they're waiting in line.
I've heard of this. I've never seen a photo.
So there's a lousy photo in the newspaper.
Like a half of a piece of 8mm footage of the top of it, but not the alligators.
Yeah, it shows up. It shows up in aerial photos. You can see the pond.
How long were they here?
A year.
And that's it.
Yeah, and they would escape. They were little guys. They got them from the alligator farm that had just opened.
The one
up
in Wayne
across.
Park?
Yeah.
Oh
and it
my
just
gosh.
opened. So someone made a deal with them over there.
So now they're in the sewer, right?
And now I don't know. There's still one in there. Who knows? But yeah, it was right here.
That's amazing.
And I had the drawings for it, and then they took it out a year later. They filled it up with plants.
So you guys worked on this building when you replaced it in the 90s.
Yeah, this was
during
my
Indy.
project during the new dock.
The queue and the dock and everything?
Yeah. I think we wanted to pay homage with the tower to the original 1955 Disneyland dock. But the story of the Jungle Cruise is that you're at risk.
Yeah.
You're going out into the jungle.
Oh, yeah.
So the idea of the dock is that it's actually sinking into the
So
river.
that's the idea behind the grade there.
All of it is built at a slight grade and angle.
I love
if it's
that.
slowly
Because
sinking.
I never even really paid attention and noticed even just how janky and
all of that is the idea that the structure is being sucked in to the bog.
I love
the
that.
jungle. And and so we also put up an infirmary with bone saws, giant bugs.
Yeah.
And I think you want to create a little bit of tension for the guests.
it's like add some more storytelling.
Well, you
to
want
it.
to add a little risk.
There it is.
Oh, he's showing the alligator pond right there.
Right there.
Yeah, he has to talk.
See, I need the two of you in a dark lit warehouse, and we could just tell stories one day. That's what I need.
Yeah.
And the 40s music is romantic.
Oh, I love the music.
It shows every song for that.
That's so good. I always love Adventureland the best. That's where I met Allie over there. So it's like a special land.
Yeah.
And it's funny, a week before I met her, I was walking through Adventureland with a friend of mine and going, I was getting divorced, and I was like, I'll probably meet the next level of my life at Disneyland. How weird. Right at the spot I met her a week
And
later.
I was 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
A couple dozen orange trees when the park opened. In
Right.
the Jungle Cruise.
Are they
Most of
still
the
there?
Tell us a Walt Disney monkey story about the little monkeys he had taken out.
What?
Oh yeah. Well, they weren't real monkeys. They
Well,
were.
of course, they weren't real monkeys.
Yeah.
They were artificial monkeys
Yeah.
that he didn't think worked.
And those monkeys ended up in a film a few years later called Toby Tyler and
Really?
the Circus. Yeah. So they're in a little circus wagon. The same little
And they're the
monkeys.
Jungle Cruise monkeys.
They're the Jungle Cruise monkeys that Walt didn't like.
See, this is the stuff I don't know. This
See,
stuff.
I asked him, and I have no idea that's going to... I didn't know
I
that.
was wondering if you're just
wasn't
making
setting
up the
Tom
monkeys.
Yeah, I wasn't setting them up. But, of course, Toby Tyler's got plastic monkeys that were rejects from Disney.
I love that you're looking through folders. I mean, you've got it all right there.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, he does. He has a rubber monkey in his car.
This is all just.
The rally monkey for the angels. The rally monkey for the angels actually came from Disneyland. I just want you to know that.
Yeah. If we had higher speed Wi-Fi here, I could get to this very quick. But
We only let him out about 2 hours a day.
I love it. I
We let
remember.
Tom out.
Yeah, so he lives with all this in his head the
there's
whole
the
time.
monkeys.
That's the monkeys
That's
in
their-
Toby Tyler.
Well, they're being made. They're in the staff
they're in the
shop right
studio.
now. Yeah. But
What
they
the
end up
shit?
around and
I'm so sorry I asked.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
He's like, actually, I do have a little Walt Disney monkey story for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I remember when this reopened, and I remember coming here with my dad and him going, oh wow, this is way better. The Jungle Cruise, the whole dock and everything being different. So that's
Well, they
awesome.
did it to get people off the street. They have so many strollers. You had to do a raised queue, and that's what motivated building the new dock.
So cool. I love it. Thanks, guys.
And there's Mr. Stubbs.
Oh,
Mr. Stubbs has a gun.
Everybody run. Mr. Stubbs got a gun.
because, okay, while I have you, before I let you go, so they never couldn't fill the rivers of America.
That did not happen.
So how did that become the myth?
They did a test pool out back in the corner of Rivers America before, like really very
Before
early.
they dredged it out and everything.
Very early, like it was probably in August of '54, and they knew that they wanted to use. This goes back to Al Dorman.
Yeah.
And another guy whose name escapes me at the moment, who was a specialist in seismic engineering, because that was beginning to be a thing.
Right. Yeah.
And this is built on sand, which is the worst kind of quake.
Good to know. Good to know for the future, for our safety here. Run for your lives.
So, so they knew that they were going to have to amend the sand with some.
Yeah.
Well, they could do concrete. That would be the Rolls-Royce idea.
Okay.
Concrete's very expensive.
Yeah.
Not just from a material standpoint, but also labor.
Right.
So they got a tip from their experts that they were consulting with that there's a new material called bentonite. Bentonite that can be used, and bentonite is a spongy clay.
Okay. So that's where that part of the story
So they
comes
knew that
from.
they had to, put a clay down. And so, but bentonite also expensive, but less with labor, hardly any labor at all. So they wanted to see how much, what the ratio between sand and bentonite would be, because it was expensive. They didn't want to just make it 100% bentonite. So is it 25% bentonite or 40% bentonite? So they first did a 25% or whatever, a lower number of bentonite.
And that didn't work.
And they filled that up and it drained. And so somebody panicked. I'm not going to mention any names, but I have seen the memos where the person is panicked, and the reply back from the bentonite company is basically rest your sphincter.
Right. You need to.
First of all, it's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but also
You need more.
we need a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So then they did one at whatever 35%.
Okay, so it was a little test pond.
It was a test pond,
And somebody's panicky memos, and that turned into the urban legend of we couldn't fill the rivers of America.
Because most of the legends happened in 1960 on the 5th anniversary of Disneyland. The publicity, the guy in charge of publicity, Ed Edinger, and another guy under him, Eddie Mack.
To the double Eds.
The double Eds went about. They solicited stories from those who were there at the opening. What funny things, what crazy anecdotes.
Tell me all the Black Sunday stories and all that.
Black Sunday stories and everything. So they got a ton of these stories, and then curating those stories was Marty Sklar, my and Eddie's boss. And I asked Marty years later about this, and he said, "Oh yeah, all those stories that were in that book that I wrote in 1964 and everything, those were handed to me, by my bosses, my two Ed bosses." And so those were like,
So they're literally like.
Those were submitted by the lady, the basket weaver across the street there.
Okay, so it's like, oh, I heard that they couldn't fill the thing.
Right.
Oh.
And Joe Fowler, submitted a lot of the stories.
Well, plus all the guys that worked on it, I'm sure were exaggerating how hardcore it was and how hard they were.
Joe was the one who was panicking when he saw the water.
Okay, yeah.
And Joe was.
So more like swearing then, because he's Admiral Joe Fowler.
Yeah.
There's a reason he called him Fowler.
That's right. And so that's how that
he's a Navy
urban myth happened.
Wow.
But no, they knew exactly what they were doing. Also, bentonite self-seals.
Right.
So you fill it up with water.
Eddie is riveted
I
by
would
the
pause,
story of.
I pause the video right now
by the
and
story.
go look that up. I think we really need to look up that material
Okay.
before we continue.
Yeah. So anyway, it self-seals under its own weight, under the weight of the water. You have to fill it up once, and then it's gonna drain like 50%, and then it's gonna seal.
Yeah.
And they fill it. So they may have seen the rivers of America go up and then go down again. Also, there was a river a canal that connected.
Right, which is still under the concrete, right?
Yeah, there's a 36-inch pipe.
Because in 1955, this just dead ended, like right here.
Right.
And then
there
that was
a
it.
service road.
And you had the little creek that had like two little alligators sticking out towards the original Indian village and all that stuff.
Yes. So they filled up the river, but they couldn't fill it up all the way because it would go over the dam.
Yeah, and then backfill here.
And they were still installing the animals.
Oh.
So there was another reason they would have only filled it up
a little bit. And so that's how these myths are born.
That's how myths are born.
I love it.
And there's a bunch of those.
I love it.
There's always a kernel of truth.
I need you back for more myths.
Behind those myths,
There always is a kernel of truth.
Colonel Clink.
A kernel of truth. I am the kernel of truth. Don't ask any more questions because we are late.
Oh yeah.
Go over.
That's right.
Tony, he is having a conniption fit.
Oh, sorry, Tony.
It's a Walt show.
Sorry, Tony.
He thinks Walt is real and he's gonna run away. He's not gonna run away. His head may fall off, but he's not gonna run away.
All right, go see Walt.
For a spur of the moment conversation packed into a day that was crazy busy. In fact, those guys were late to meet up with Tony Baxter to see Robot Walt. I just thought that was too good, and there was too much amazing information in there to be seen by nobody but myself and essentially just go to waste. I mean, both of those guys are amazing, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to both of them in greater detail sometime in the future, but I just thought it wasn't worth deleting that footage, man. Especially since it gives you a little glimpse into the kind of day we were having, running into people like this and having conversations like that over and over again. And that myth about the rivers of America draining the first time they tried to film it and then panicking at the last second, that urban legend is something I've been reading about in books since I was a kid going to Walt Disney Elementary School doing projects on Disneyland. Something I've heard VIP Disney tour guides repeat, something that I've seen in Disney produced documentaries about Disneyland. So to have Tom be working on his upcoming book and then bust that myth forever is something truly amazing. It just goes to show, especially in that whole long conversation, that there are still so many unsung heroes that help to create the magic, and still so many stories to be uncovered and myths to be busted, or exaggerations really. That's the kind of thing that gets me all pumped up. Like, there are still stories to tell here at Disneyland about its history, about its secrets and mysteries. And I love the fact that some of the guys that helped to create the latter day magic at the park are just as excited to uncover that history and do the hard work, in Tom's case, as we are, like they are just as big of fans of the park as the rest of us. Anyway, I mainly came down here because I wanted to share that footage with you guys. I was planning on doing it earlier, but yesterday was the 11th anniversary of the night that I met Allie here at Disneyland, so of course we had to take our annual fun pic, and look at this. That is 11 years of taking the same picture on the same day every year since 2014. You even saw that COVID shot in there where we couldn't get inside the park, but luckily we were able to walk around in front of it, so close enough. She was just starting college, I was going through a nasty divorce. We met as and stayed friends for a long time. She wore me down and we started dating sometime around the 60th anniversary of Disneyland starting, so the 70th is pretty special to us. And that, like, yeah, okay, we've been together for 10 years. But since we didn't know exactly when that really officially started, there was no day that was like, will you be my boyfriend? Will you be my girlfriend? So we have like no anniversary of starting to date, We always just try to celebrate the day we met right over here in Adventureland and took our first picture together right over here underneath what was the entrance to Aladdin's Oasis but has since been transformed, as you can kind of see through all those pictures, into the tropical hideaway out here. Anyway, pretty sweet. Crazy to think that it's been 11 years since we met. We were pretty much instant friends and then very soon best friends, and we stayed best friends all the way down to this very day. We still got our haters like everybody does, but can you imagine 11 years? It went by so fast. It's funny, in some ways, Disneyland hasn't changed much at all in those 10 or 11 years, which of course is my favorite thing about it, right? It's kind of the one place in your life where you can step back into the past and almost everyone is still there. You know, you can still see so many of your friends, whether they're pirates or rodents or mountaintop goats or dogs. You know, we can see some of those same old shows and familiar characters, all those wonderful things that make Disneyland a shrine to happy memories and a hub for nostalgia. You know, and I get all misty and everything, and then I remember there's also a whole lot that's changed out here in the last 10 years. Like on the experience side of things, 10 years ago, you could barely get cell phone service in here, much less Wi-Fi. All those digital apps that were just starting to be a thing so you could look at a map have become an essential part of the Disneyland experience. Fast Pass is dead, the old free paper Fast Pass. Then there's all kinds of different projects they've done around the park, widening different walkways or upgrading some of the rides, like Snow White's Scary Adventure is now Snow White's Enchanted Wish. You know, just little things like that. Or the turnstiles at the front of the park now are all digital and you scan in with your app to get in the park. Old pieces of Disneyland history like the Swiss Chalet that used to be part of the Sky Buckets have disappeared in the last 11 years. So has the Pinocchio Village Haas restaurant, which is still the Red Rose Tavern tied into that live action Beauty and the Beast that seems mostly forgotten now. Lots of other little things, new restaurants, new carts, new merch, but also some absolutely massive things. Let's remember that 11 years ago, no one had ever even heard of a Star Wars land at Disneyland. There was no Millennium Falcon out here, which, side note, still blows my mind to see out here. I mean, what the heck? Anyway, yeah, there was no Millennium Falcon out here 11 years ago, and there sure as heck was no robot Walt. I probably should have cut the feed and ended the video after Tom and Eddie were done talking to us, but I can't help it. That's my number one flaw here in Randomland is I like to throw everything and the kitchen sink that I possibly can into every single episode, which makes them incredibly difficult to title or to do just one default picture for. Those are my troubles, they ain't your troubles. And as I was walking into the park today, I noticed something. The doors to the Opera House are just wide open. Robot Walt has been here for only 5 days and there's already no virtual queue? Well, I've only seen him twice. Maybe it's time to pop in and see him once again. Ooh, and this time we're really close. Could not be any closer.
My brother had joined the Navy. Something just for me here that you and I can get in.
Well, my greatest reward, I think, is that I've been able to build this wonderful organization. I had a brother who I really envied because he was a mailman. But he was the one that had all the fun. He had himself a trailer, and he used to go off and go fishing, and he didn't worry about payrolls, that heard story. He just had picture grocers or anything. And he was the happy one. I always said he's the smart Disney. You know, I was stumped one day when the little boy asked, "Do you draw Mickey Mouse?" Well, I said, sometimes I think of myself as a little bee.
Man, I really thought that would help. I'll tell you one thing, audiences are smiling. They're smiling, they always applaud at the end of the show. People like it. Literally just heard a guy say, that made me really happy. And again, before I say anything else, I must say that the first time I saw it, there was a little girl sitting behind Allie and I who went, "Mommy, is that really him?" And then hearing audience comments like that, you think, well, that's what it's all about, right? Putting the Walt Disney back in Disneyland. And for that, I have to celebrate this. But I don't know how to explain it. It's like, just something's missing. Did you see what I was talking about him never not smiling and stuff like that? It's just that it's Disney, you know? I know what they're capable of, so I thought it would be like, way up here, or I was worried that it'd be, way down here. And it's just sort of like right in the middle for me still. But I just realized, you know what? I can't really be fair to it. I don't think I'm the target audience, right? Like, I've read every book I could get my hands on about Walt Disney. I've been to his former homes and his old hometown and filmed all his old stomping grounds in Kansas City and things. I watch every Walt Disney documentary I can find. Hi, Pluto! I've been polling people every time I see the show. When people come out, I'm like, what'd you think, you know? And it's like all the people who are very familiar with Walt looked like and stuff have their little criticisms. People who have seen the old One Man's Dream show have their criticisms. And I'm looking at it like, it doesn't floor me with sadness, but it doesn't lift me up to the heights with joy. But everyone I've talked to that's sort of on the young side and not super familiar with Walt in that way is like delighted by it, you know what I mean? And kids who don't know any part of Walt Disney's story, they're learning something. So overall, like I said, my jury opinion, I know what that is. You know, the more Walt in Disneyland, the better. No, it's definitely not perfect. There's definitely still something weird about the head and the face that I feel like they could fix, for sure. And it would also be easy for me to sit here and tell you like, oh, they could have tightened up that show more, just like as a video editor. And then as a Walt Disney history fan, like a fan of the man himself, I'm like, oh, there's so many more stories they could have told in there, etc., etc. Then again, I think that's not really fair, because how much can you slam into a 15-minute show that has to introduce people who may not know anything about Walt to Walt and his story? I am just genuinely having a hard time figuring out exactly how I feel about the show overall. And let me tell you what, if I hated it, I would have told you. If I loved it and it was the best thing ever, I couldn't wait to see it again, I would have told you. I'm just sort of right in the neutral zone, right? Like I can't shift it into either gear for some reason. I wish I could, it'd be a lot simpler. Which is why I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Robot Walt. What did you think about our special guest Imagineers and their stories? Let me know down below, or over on my Instagram, that's even better in fact, at Justin Scard, or just go to randomland.com and you'll find all the links over there. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
For now, we've done our duty. It's time to go home and sleep well.
Side note, one of my favorite things about the 70th anniversary is that they use this miniature stagecoach here in front of Star Wars Town as one of the key ports over here for that 70th anniversary key. And they reconfigured it so it's holding this barrel of soap over here that ejects bubbles. There's some little light effects in the windows here. And they also added a little bit of dynamite. And my favorite thing of all is that on the box of dynamite it says, light 'em and hide explosives. Nice touch. Nice touch. That's a very overlooked piece of the additions to the 70th anniversary, you know? Everyone's talking about Robot Walt, they're all talking about all this crazy stuff. No one's talking about light 'em and hide. I can't figure out why. I mean, it's easily the most explosive part of the celebration.